And then the other thing that you'll see, just a minor impact to the expenditures, code blue. We have 5 positions, civilian positions that are being paid as temporaries, and what we're doing is we're converting those to part-time employees. So it's 5 positions affected coming over, and 2 APs the way that they're budgeted. And then these 2 were kind of a swap, a reclassification and switch that occurred in fiscal year 2016 already. So just wanted to kind of point out that there are 48 positions that are coming over from the general fund based on that particular flipping of the $5.3 million, and then a few of the leases that help round that out. And then we get into enhanced enforcement. And this is where the mounted patrol comes in. So it looks like a pretty significant increase here. And then also the special events and emergency response comes in there. So those look like some significant increases. But overall, the rest of the budget didn't change a whole lot. Oh, let me point out that the SROs there too. So those were where most of those changes were occurring. No other significant changes from year to year in that area. The neighborhood crime prevention, this is where, again, we moved 31 positions from general fund to CCPD. So now that all of the MPOs are actually a part of the crime control and prevention district fund, those are not in the general fund anymore. This is where the 509,000 was the other balancing thing to send the leases over to the general fund to help that balance that amount. And the crime prevention unit is due to that transfer of the position to the DNA crime lab. Our partners with a shared mission, relatively flat with the exception of the late night program, and that was due to an adjustment in some of the personnel changes and things that are associated with salary and benefits in that particular program. Overall, no major change. And then, of course, you'll be hearing a little bit more information later in the presentation or later in the meeting regarding the community-based programs. Recruitment and training. So this is an area where we're going to see a significant increase compared to last year's budget, because we're working to get those 4 recruit classes graduated in fiscal year 17, and so that we can get to getting as close to our authorized strength as possible. Just one little note of clarification: the positions that are being added that will be meeting that are actually the positions that are being added to the general fund, the 27 in 2018, based upon the 6th division overall plan. So those positions aren't being added in CCPD. And then the other additional that are associated with that has to do with the additional recruiting and background checks for the additional recruits that we're getting through the system. And then this is just a quick graphical kind of over the last 3 years this year and looking into fiscal year 17, the actual attrition that we've experienced on a fiscal year basis and what we're looking at this year and going into next year. So that helped provide the timeline for the academies and what level we needed to recruit for. Then we get into the equipment, technology, and infrastructure. So there was a lot of movement in this particular program. As we mentioned before, the $5 million transfer goes away. So we don't have that anymore. It was picked up by all of the units that were transferred over, those positions. A lot of the things, there was a slight increase in the jail cost allocation, and there may be one other adjustment to that. We received some information on that after the application was already submitted. And then, let's see, the other large thing, we are looking to leverage CCPD funds with UASI funds in order to purchase a replacement helicopter in the next year. And then we have police officer safety equipment that's going up, and cameras that are for vehicle replacement. And then we'll see, not the part that looks like a, yeah, no, that's right. And so, and then the continuation of the debt service for the radio tower, slight adjustment in this year's scheduled. And then the facility requirements that were one-time use of funding in fiscal year 16. So just to kind of highlight the significant changes from fiscal year 16 to 17 is backwards. The civil service plan and the leases going away, and the units that were transferred over into CCPD from the general fund that offset that, and those positions that go with it. A conversion of the temporary employees to part-time employees, so that some of those health benefits that come along with that. Expanding the SRO program. Increasing the recruiting and training efforts in order to fill all of those vacancies and the new positions that we will be getting with 6th Division. Some changes in the capital, the addition of the helicopter, looking to get back up to speed with the replacement of the high mileage vehicles. A little bit, about $200,000 was for the IT phone system project, an increase in jail contracts, and things associated with the body cameras and the vehicle cameras. So that was all of the information that I wanted to be able to get in front of you today. We will be having the additional public hearing at the 25th meeting when y'all are available.
Kelly?
Thank you for the presentation, and Chief Fitzgerald and I kind of had this conversation the other day, so I'm putting it out there. I'm starting it just a little early. We've had lots of conversations around this table in our community meetings in dealing with game rooms. And what I discovered maybe about 3 weeks ago was that we really did not have a real true to life vice unit, that we just kind of put together a piecemeal unit to take care of criminal activity that happens in and around game rooms. And so but it's been very successful. So my ask is, how do we make that unit a permanent unit? We have it included into CCPD, and we fund them in all of the real ways that they need to be funded, because I'm understanding that they bought their own vests and all of these other things that they needed, because we really did not have a place for them, but we just knew that there was a need. Chris Mosley sent us all an email this afternoon just kind of highlighting different places in our districts that they have been most effective. And I have 17 of those bus in District 8. And I actually got to witness one a couple of weeks ago just by accident. But I can tell just in that short amount of time the great things that have happened. But they've also confiscated about $500,000, in cash from those raids. And so I really would, as we talk about being an all-American city, we have to have things in place that really and truly continue to make us an all-American city. My assistant city manager said we are not Mayberry and we should not be functioning like Mayberry, and she's right. We shouldn't be. So I want to put that out there, and I also want to say that I have asked all of my constituents, as we talk about budgets, and they say, well, what do you want us to support? And so I'm asking that they support, making sure that we have a full-time vice unit.
First, let me say that I'm very happy that you've been able to see them in action, because many times one of the criticisms we hear as police is that we don't see as much activity. So I'm happy that you've seen us take enforcement activity in that way. We realize that vice activity has been a problem, and we put that task force together. And I say task force because we're, in essence, robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're using, positions that are slated to be patrol positions to now do specialized work. And our hope is, as we grow as an agency, that we can look at it sort of in a holistic sense and say, ratio-wise, how many patrol officers do we need per every investigator that we have to promote? And understand that people working in detective positions or corporal positions have to be promoted. And what we're going to do is obviously come back and ask as the need arises for more folks. Right now, we're able to do it with what we have. We put those vice units out there, but with the understanding that they're still in patrol right now. We will continue working them in the capacity they're working in as long as we can, and until we can get our people graduated from the police academy that we're talking about and fill in these other positions. But part of smart planning is making sure that, again, we have enough people to cover the patrol aspect of things, but also incrementally grow in areas of investigation, and that's what we intend on doing. So I'm glad that you've seen the activity and you'll continue to see it. But again, know that we've taken a little bit away from our patrol activities to make that happen.
And did we or did we not have a dedicated vice unit until the last year or so? And we
yeah.
had funding for it.
Yes, ma'am, you did have.
So what happened to that funding that we're now being asked to fund a new unit?
Actually, when I took over, we did not have a dedicated vice unit.
Okay, well, it was funded in the budget in years past as part of your staffing plan. Is this part of your strategic look?
It is indeed.
Okay,
yes.
well, I would, and
We want
I
to
was
revive
just
that unit
given,
full-time, Mayor.
and I'll pass this around to you, a chart on the gambling raids and each council district members where the raids have occurred and the 509,000 that was out there. You know, we are going to run a little short of time here because we have pre-council shortly. So, I mean, we're going to ask whatever questions you want, but we do have a couple more hearings on this. We can dig a little deeper, and we can ask the chief to get some more information on how his funding was in the past and where it goes now in relation to that.
I appreciate that, Mayor.
Sal?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the report. We are making progress in game rooms. And as I reiterated last week, we need to get the information out to the public because Fort Worth PD, we are engaged in enforcement efforts. Just because the new game room ordinance is being challenged in the courts doesn't mean that illegal activity, any criminal behavior is illegal can be, police can still enforce it, bring, prosecution, and the city is not sitting actively by because what happens in these game rooms in the center city areas or anywhere in the city really is it attracts illegal behavior. There's drug activity. There's folks coming to neighborhoods don't belong there. So folks in the neighborhoods are very concerned about game rooms. And I want to thank the police department for putting this task force together, for making this a priority, and whatever we can do on the council to continue this effective use of police resources, because this is the email, the calls that at least this council office gets the most concerned calls and emails about at this moment. So thank you.
You get a lot of calls on it, that's for sure. Jungus?
Chief, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I want you to know that I, as council member from District 6, stand ready to increase the number of officers that you have. And I've had discussions with David, and I'm aware of your strategic study, and I know we're going to have more discussions as we go forward. But in the pre-council, you're going to talk about your crime report. And I fully support Kelly's comment about the vice. What I don't want to see is you getting in a whack-a-mole kind of approach where you pull resources from one activity to put out a fire in another place. And we're doing that now with game rooms. You're short of detectives, you're short of officers, and I'm hopeful that the strategic plan is going to give us a game plan for budgets, maybe not this year, but I will tell you, I'm ready to put more resources in the police department this year if need be, but I'm dependent on you. Second issue, in the forums that you've had in the community, and I salute your community outreach that you're making. Overall, they've been hugely successful. But you've talked about a police athletic league, and I want to know where that appears in the budget. And I want to make sure we've put enough resources, because that's the kind of thing that CCPT is intended to do. And we want to make sure that you have the funds necessary to run a successful program and not just say we're doing it, but to do it right. And knowing you, that's the only way you're going to do it. And but it's up to us to make sure you have enough resources in the CCPD budget before we do other programs to make sure you have the money you need for your outreach. So show me where it's at, and we can talk about it later, but that's something we need to really hammer home. And congratulations, you're doing a great job.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I mentioned a week or so ago that I hosted a meeting at the Hanley Meadowbrook Rec Center. There were about probably 75 people there, all very concerned about the game rooms. And they were given the impression, just from remarks from legal, that because of the restraining order, we were pretty much impotent and unable to really function. They didn't like that. And so luckily, I was able to get in touch with Chris and put him in touch with the neighborhood presidents to give them a real contact to get an idea of what are we doing. What I'd like to hear at some date that's appropriate is what the strategy is while we're under this restraining order, because I haven't heard that in total to my satisfaction, because who knows how long that could take. And we don't want citizens thinking, well, they heard that there was a raid over here, here they go, and they're coming over here at this part of town. What is the strategy until this restraining order is lifted?
And we can ask legal and the chief to come back and give us a response, a full briefing and pre-council on the strategy and how we handle it as we move forward.
That'd be good. I want to say thank you to all the officers who stepped up. We were in full force with guns and badges and everything, and it made the community feel very, very positive that you were there. And so I have to just thank them again. But the strategy is very important that people know.
Not to belabor the point, but to tell you it's even more important that the communities come out and interacted with us, because it lets every officer know how committed the community is, as committed as council has been to support us. And we thank you and the community for that.
And I think your 4 classes that you're going to run that CCPD is going to fund will help you get on top of the attrition and then give you a chance to look at where modern policing standards ought to be and where you are, particularly as you work through this strategic plan. There's no reason for us to put a lot of funds into positions if you can't fill them. And there's nothing says we can't go back and amend the budget if we get through 4 classes and discover we've still got a lot of people out there that we can bring in.
Yes, ma'am, and you'll find that I've been very aggressive about making sure that our recruitment and
I know you have.
Trying to put
Yep.
people in the seats. We're going to do that by December 31st. We should have.
And I know you're
the
not going to
seats.
lower the standard for officers at all, but
Oh,
still
not at
going to
all.
have enough people to do that.
Expectations remain high here.
That's right. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Sasha, I think, has the next piece on the community-based programs.
Hi, President, Board. I will, I know I'll be trying to be conscious of time, but I just wanted to let y'all know that we had gone through the FY17 selection process as far as the RFPs were released. They had about 30 days to respond. We did receive 11 applications for a total of asking for $645,000. This year, we gave y'all an opportunity to provide us with someone to serve on that evaluation committee. And we had 7 members that were from y'all's recommendation and 1 person from the police department. We did still have the limitation on the indirect cost at 10%. We advertised through social media, we advertised through purchasing, we advertised through newsletters, email announcements. So we use a variety of avenues to make the public aware of this funding. Here's a list of the applications that we received. The total again was 11, totaling $645,000. And then these are the agencies that are being recommended for funding. And I'll quickly go through just a few details on each of these. So the second opportunity for success, this is a program that helps youth who are first-time offenders get a second chance as far as they go through some curriculum with their parents. They're overseen for 90 days after that, and if they don't reoffend, they're given an opportunity to have those charges dismissed. The main thing that they're asking for in their budget is to do with the personnel that works either directly with the youth or with the direct management of the program. These are their performance effectiveness measures. They're looking at serving at least 60 participants. The other program is the Diamond Girls, excuse me. It's a YMCA program. It's serving Dillwood Elementary as well as William James Middle School. This is a program for at-risk youth, and they're looking at serving 30 participants. And the majority of their funds is going for personnel as well as supplies that have to do with the program, training supplies. They're going to be sending the kids to camps. They're going to be doing community outreach. They're going to also be doing mentoring type programs. And these are the effectiveness measures that are going to be measured through the school administrators through assessments. Next, we have Play It Safe, which is a program that provides age-appropriate education on sexual abuse prevention. And this is given to the kids at schools, and it also gives training to caregivers. And all of their program funds that they're seeking, the $25,000, is related to personnel cost. And here there's effectiveness measures, and they're measured both through surveys that are assessed a couple of weeks after they've gone through the training, and then they also keep track of how many children have actually make an outcry during the education events. The next program is from Opening Doors with Women in Need. Their main focus are on women that are transitioning from prison. They provide housing resources as well as job readiness training. They're looking at serving 150 clients during this program. And the majority of their funds requested is for that job readiness coordinator. And these are the this is how they will measure effectiveness. They're going to look at crime stats. They have some literacy measurements that they'll do, as well as measuring if the clients are receiving employment. Next, we have New Day Services. They're offering some courses for women who are referred by the Tarrant County Family Law System. Their funding is also a majority for personnel, but again, this personnel are personnel that are directly serving the clients. And these are their effectiveness measures. They measure these through pre and post surveys, and also they're going to be looking at women and how they've been able to either regain access through visitation with their children. And lastly, we have the Artis de la Rosa program, and they requested $65,000. There's $200,000 total that is recommended for the community-based program. So basically, we took the top 5, and then there were some funds remaining, and we went to Artis de la Rosa and said, "Are you willing to, scale back your program and do something for $13,000?" And they said, "Sure." And so we've gotten that revised budget from them. They do classes in theater, dance, visual arts for at-risk youth. And their costs are for the personnel that provides this visual arts, writing, and theater and dance training. And these are their how they measure effectiveness, and this is mainly achieved through questionnaires of their students. So there's no action items for you today. At the next meeting on August 25th, you'll be asked to consider and approve this recommendation totaling $200,000. Again, these are the programs. You had also received an IR that gave you some additional details. So I hope I didn't go too quickly through that, but if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer that. And also, we have in attendance today representatives from each of the agencies if there's any questions as well.
Questions, council? Sasha, do you look at any of these in relation to education? We are about to embark upon the big education task force with literacy, third grade literacy being a big component. And the news data coming out and the figures are proving over and over that the components that have, the programs that have a strong component on teaching kids to read and focusing on their education have, as a spinoff, a side effect in reducing crime and family violence. So I'd love to see some of these programs focusing on the literacy piece also.
Yeah. Currently in the RFP, there's no focus on that. The focus has been on prevention of youth and family violence, and that's done in a variety of ways. But for the FY18 process, we are looking at taking a good look at what we're doing, and that's certainly something that we can consider for FY18.
Well, certainly so many of the women and the children and the fathers, too, that are in trouble, if you get right down to it, their education level is not where it should be. Their ability to read, their others have just lagged, and that has a terrible impact on our communities. Sal?
And I saw one of the programs dealing with sexual abuse, and maybe in a future program year, really want to look at that because it's disconcerting to me to see those cases as they pop up in some of these reports. What can we do using community-based programming for education, for prevention of sexual abuse of children? If we can figure out how to incorporate that in future years as part of community-based. I saw there was a good program here, but how do we continue to leverage that, and what are some good program measures for effectiveness in that area? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Thank you. Okay, board, and remember this, we're the board, we have our CCPD hats on. Mine's backwards, sorry about that. Future agenda items or reports, Jungus?
Yes, I would, we mentioned the vice unit, and I think that sort of falls in that arena, is for the chief to come back and talk about his strategic plan. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, David, but to understand what that is. And the other thing I mentioned, the Police Athletic League and community outreach. I'd like to get a brief discussion of what the chief sees and needs to make that successful.
Other questions? Gina?
Mayor, you brought this up. I'd just like to follow up on it. I'd like to see some type of report or study that shows us all of the youth programs, what that educational attainment is, and how that links to disruptive classrooms, disruptive behavior.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to get to? Because if they can't read, if they can't function, and all they're doing is recreational things, I think that there's going to be a void there. So I'd like for them to show us just how important is educational attainment in warding off juvenile delinquency.
I agree. It's huge. Okay, others? Okay, with that, we will adjourn CCPD and shift your hats.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vanessa Charette, a pediatrician at the Cook Children's Neighborhood Clinics in Fort Worth. Today we're going to talk about some numbers that you need to know for staying healthy and that you need to ask about at your well check exams. We have Lauren here with us today. And Lauren, we're going to do a checkup on you today and talk about some of the numbers that you need to know about today. Things that we're going to do at a checkup today would be measuring your height, your weight, your blood pressure, and your heart rate. We're going to use some of those numbers to calculate a really important number called your BMI. Have you ever heard of your BMI before?
Yes, I have.
Do you know what it stands for?
Body mass index.
That's right. So the BMI is your body mass index, and it's not really straightforward to calculate, but your doctor should be able to do that for you and should give it to you at all of your well exams. The BMI is a good estimate of the amount of fat that you have in your body. It's not an exact measure of the amount of fat, but it's a good estimate for that, and that's what we use it for. A normal BMI varies depending upon how old you are. So a lot of our families ask us, should my child's BMI be? And we can tell you that based on your child's gender and on your child's age, but there is no one number that's normal. So we'll get your number today and then tell you where you fit, okay? The other thing that is important to get done at your well check starting at the age of 9 is getting your lipids checked, and those are your cholesterol, to give us a chance to talk to you about if you need to make some changes in your diet to improve your cholesterol.
Do I need to worry about cholesterol? Like, do I need to count it?
You don't need to worry about counting it. We do recommend some healthy living activities for all children, and it's really easy to remember. We talk about a system called 5, 2, 1, and 0. And the numbers are, we want you to try and get 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Limit your time in front of the TV or the computer to 2 hours or less a day. Try and get 1 hour of physical activity and 0 drinks that have sweetener or sugar in them. Limit to just drinking water or milk.
Okay.
So the next thing that we'll do is go out and get your vital signs done. For you, that's going to be your height, your weight, your heart rate, and your blood pressure. And a lot of people think that only adults, grown-ups, can have problems with high blood pressure, but kids can definitely have problems with that too. So we really want to emphasize that at any child's well check, they should be getting their blood pressure checked, and then have their doctor go over that number with them to make sure that it's a normal number for that child.
Hey Lauren, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Can you take off your shoes for me, please? We're going to get your weight. Go ahead and stand right up here. Hands to your side and be very still. Okay, now Lauren, you're going to stand right back here for me. Okay. You're going to stand up straight, feet all the way back, come on right in the middle. And put your feet right over here in the middle. Right there. And your feet all the way back for me. Stand up real straight. You have a seat now. I'm going to take your blood pressure. Okay, be very still for me. And just relax.
One of the other concerns that a lot of the families come to me, or the kids themselves, is about their blood sugar and what's an okay blood sugar. We don't normally check blood sugar at your well exam unless there's a reason that we're concerned. And so reasons that would make us concerned would be if your BMI is too high, or if you have any signs or symptoms of diabetes. And some of those signs would be changes of the skin where there's some darkening on the skin around the neck, and that's called acanthosis nigricans. If you're feeling like you're thirsty all the time, and if you feel like you're needing to use the bathroom to urinate very frequently. And if any of those things are things we discover when you come in for your checkup, we would then want to go ahead and do your blood sugar. Blood sugar is an important way for us to check for early risk for diabetes and to try and catch you before you've gone on to develop diabetes and to get you the help you need early on. We've talked a lot about some important numbers for you to get checked at your doctor's visits. If you want more information, go to fitworth.org and we will have links for information on BMI, cholesterol, and the prescription for healthy living. And please remember, stay Fitworth.
Texas cities are introducing new road markings to keep cyclists safe. Shared lanes show cyclists the best place to ride, but aren't only for bike traffic. Marked by a large bicycle symbol, they remind drivers to share the road. Learn more at lookouttexans.org.
The City of Fort Worth Office of Emergency Management provides early warning on potential natural and man-made disasters to residents. This presentation will provide information about the different types of warning available to the public. Severe weather conditions are common in north central Texas during the spring months, but they're certainly not limited to the spring. Tornadoes, heavy rainfall, and straight-line winds can sweep into an area along with golf ball or larger size hail that can damage your vehicle and roofs, destroy crops, and kill livestock. The National Weather Service office, based in Fort Worth, uses data provided by current technology to forewarn residents of potential dangers from severe weather. Gathering data alongside the standard NEXRAD weather radar, CASA radar is one of the region's newest warning systems. While NEXRAD gives a big picture overview of a severe storm up to 150 miles away, the short-range CASA radar will track storms up to 25 miles away, giving high-resolution details about weather conditions down to individual neighborhoods. But radar technology is not the only system we use to provide warnings to Fort Worth residents. We still employ the boots on the ground, or in this case, eyes on the sky method as well. RACES, the Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service, acts as storm spotters. RACES is made up of over 500 members and uses a ham radio network to keep local emergency managers and the National Weather Service advised as to what they see. The National Weather Service meteorologist, local broadcasters, and the emergency management duty officer work together to get the information out to all residents of north central Texas. Here's how the alert system works. A severe weather threat, such as a tornado or severe thunderstorm, is identified by NEXRAD weather radar from a distance. The National Weather Service requests storm spotter activation to verify the threat as it moves closer to our city, and continues to monitor using both NEXRAD and CASA weather radars. The Fort Worth Emergency Management Duty Officer reports to the Emergency Operations Center and monitors the threat. If the situation warrants, the duty officer activates the Fort Worth warning systems. The main warning system consists of 153 outdoor warning sirens. The sirens can be triggered to sound all at once or only in the portion of the city that may be affected by the hazard. Remember, these sirens provide warning to residents who are outside. They are not designed to be heard inside homes and businesses. While a number of people believe the outdoor warning sirens are called tornado sirens, they will be activated for several different types of hazards. Severe weather conditions are the leading cause for siren activation by either the Emergency Management Office or the Fort Worth Fire Dispatch Office. Sirens will be activated for tornado warnings from the National Weather Service or the report of a tornado from a reliable source such as a storm spotter, straight line winds of 60 miles an hour or higher, hail larger than 1 inch in diameter, a man-made disaster such as a chemical emergency, or a state or national emergency. It is important to determine why the warning sirens are sounding, so it is recommended that residents seek shelter and seek information. In the event of an activation, the sirens will sound for 3 minutes. The Office of Emergency Management tests the outdoor warning sirens on a weekly basis, weather permitting. The first Wednesday of the month, a 90-second test will be conducted. The remaining Wednesdays in the month will have a 15-second test. If you do not hear your local siren during this test, please report the malfunction to 817-392-6170. When you are indoors, NOAA weather radios are an excellent warning device. The radios will set off an alarm triggered by the National Weather Service to warn you of imminent danger from severe weather. Radios with SAME, that's S-A-M-E, technology can be programmed to sound only when the alerts have been issued for your county. If a power outage occurs during a storm, many radios have options for power, such as battery backup, solar power, and hand crank. If you work in a noisy environment or cannot hear the outdoor warning siren from inside your home during a severe weather event, you might want to consider joining the city's NIXL Emergency Text Alert program. Office of Emergency Management duty officers will send out text message alerts to smartphones and emails. Thousands of Fort Worth residents have registered for this free alert service. It's as easy as texting your zip code or the word Fort Worth to 888-777, which will register your smartphone. Or you can visit www.nixle.com. That's www.nixle.com to sign up for smartphone or email alerts. The Office of Emergency Management provides these electronic alerts free of charge, but it is recommended that residents contact their cell phone or data providers to inquire about possible charges. If you or someone you know is deaf, hard of hearing, blind deaf, or use a refreshable Braille reader and is a resident or work in Fort Worth, the Office of Emergency Management provides a third warning system that is pretty unique. It's a visual alert system named AHAS. The Accessible Hazard Alert System, also known as AHAS, is transmitted in American Sign Language. The message is verbalized in English, captioned, and a signal is provided for a refreshable Braille reader. Participants must be residents of Fort Worth or work in Fort Worth and have a video-capable device to receive the free transmissions. To register for this free AHAS program, simply visit www.ftw.ahasalerts.com. That's fortworth.ahasalerts.com. Registration in the Special Needs Assistance Program, known as SNAP, is also recommended for residents with a special, access, or functional need. The voluntary SNAP program consists of a database that provides location, contact information, and information on the person's special, access, or functional need for first responders and emergency management personnel. The City of Fort Worth Office of Emergency Management does not define a special need. We leave that decision up to the individual. You can register in the SNAP program by visiting www.snapforYou.org. That's www.snap4u.org. Residents can also receive warning from the Emergency Alert System over local radio and television broadcasts and the National Weather Service NOAA weather radios, which can be programmed to receive alerts for your county. The better prepared you are for a possible disaster, the better you will fare if it happens. The Fort Worth Office of Emergency Management is a proud partner in the regional Know What to Do Emergency Preparedness Public Education Campaign. You can get life-saving safety information by visiting the Know What to Do website at www.knowwhat2do.com. That's www.knowhat2do.com or thinkprepareact.com. If you are a new resident to North Central Texas or have lived here for all of your life, you should know about the local weather conditions we face and the possibility of a man-made disaster in a large metropolitan area. Most residents will tell you that our main concern is severe weather, with its tornadoes, lightning, heavy rainfall, and flash flooding. The Office of Emergency Management recommends residents develop a personal safety plan for themselves and their families. Knowing where to go in an emergency, knowing where to obtain information, and having a 72-hour emergency kit on hand is key to weathering a major storm or man-made disaster. Let's start on where you will be able to gather information. There are several choices on how to receive early warnings and official instructions before, during, and after a disaster. It's important to be informed as to what is happening so you will know what to do. Your family should have a communications plan in case you are separated when a disaster strikes. Each family member should know how to contact others after a local disaster. Remember, wired telephones and cell phones may be down after a storm. If cell phone service is jammed, you will not be able to speak with each other, but text messages can usually get through. Have your family build a 72-hour emergency kit. If a severe weather disaster such as a tornado were to strike Fort Worth, it might take 3 days for first responders to physically reach you. Make sure you have enough food, water, and supplies for every member of your family. If you or a member of your family has an access or functional need, you'll want to make sure you have everything they'll need inside your kit. It is recommended that you have a 2-week supply of any prescription medication and any special dietary needs in your kit. An alternate power supply, such as a portable generator, would be beneficial to keep medications cold, and power life support equipment if necessary. You'll also want to make sure that you have adequate insurance to cover any losses you might encounter. Keep a duplicate set of important documents in a watertight envelope in your emergency kit. And don't forget about your pets. They depend on you for their protection also. Make sure your emergency kit has everything your pet will need to weather a storm. For additional information on preparing for a local, natural, or man-made disaster, or to find local and federal governmental services, you can visit these websites. This has been a presentation of the Fort Worth Office of Emergency Management.
Hello, my name is Megan Mulch, and you're watching Face the Smartscape. Today, I am joined by 3 of the 2016 Texas Smartscape candidates. They are campaigning hard to win a spot in your landscape. Joining us today from the Sun Party is Texas Lantana. American Beautyberry is representing the Partial Shade Party, and Turk's Cap is here with the Shade Party. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that many of the Smartscape candidates thrive in a variety of sunny or shaded areas, but they have chosen to align with one party for the sake of the campaign trail. American Beautyberry, let's start with you. You're best known for your work as a musical artist in the band Calicarpa Americana. What do you feel like you bring to the Smartscape campaign?
Well, Megan, if you remember my hit that was highlighted in the 2014 Texas Smartscape e-magazine, Horticultural Vogue, I really spelled out a majority of my benefits. Look around, all you see are purple berries.
American Beautyberry, ma'am, I only have a short bit to get through. Let's move this along.
Can we save the musical antics until after the show, please? And for the record, like Miss Beautyberry, I too thrive in full sun, partial shade, and full shade.
Yes, Mr. Turk's Cap. What issues are you focusing on for the Full Shade Party?
Well, Megan, although I thrive in any light requirement, I decided to run for the Full Shade Party because many people are frustrated by that pesky turf grass that just doesn't like that shade. Those Texas trees like to grow big and tall, and people need a shade option. But Megan, I also appreciate people's need for aesthetics, and boy, do I sure bring that to the table.
I'd like to add to that statement.
Yes, Miss Lantana.
Now, I can't handle the shade, but what I can stand is the heat. When that Texas sun bears down on me, I just bloom harder. I'm a fighter, Megan, truly. Beautiful blooms and great friends like the birds and the butterflies. What more could you ask for in your landscape?
Absolutely. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us today on this edition of Face the Smartscape. We hope to see all of you, Smartscape voters, at the polls this spring, aka the Regional Texas Smartscape Plant Sales Events. For a full listing of the events, visit txsmartscape.com and check out the 2016 Texas Smartscape Voter Guide at savefortworthwater.org. I'm Megan Mulch. Thanks for watching.
Texas cities are introducing new road markings to keep cyclists safe. Shared lanes show cyclists the best place to ride, but aren't only for bike traffic. Marked by a large bicycle symbol, they remind drivers to share the road. Learn more at lookouttexans.org.
Household hazardous waste, chemicals, detergents, petroleum products, pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers are stormwater pollutants, so proper disposal helps protect our water. That's why Fort Worth operates the Environmental Collection Center for its residents and those of eligible participating cities. Located at 6400 Bridge Street in East Fort Worth, the center is open 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Thursdays and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays. Visitors need proof of residency, a valid driver's license, or a current water bill. The facility is for residential waste. Commercial, business, or industrial waste cannot be accepted under Texas regulations. The ECC is a drive-through facility, so when you pull in, remain in your car and staff will unload your waste. Leave the products you bring in the original marked containers, and if the waste is unlabeled, please label contents clearly. Place leaking containers inside a second container. Secure all items in a box or bin, no trash bags, in the truck of the car or bed of pickup for transport. Fort Worth residents can contact 817-392-1234 to learn more. Residents of other cities should contact their city for more information and to see if a voucher is required. Do your part. Bring your hazardous household waste to the Environmental Collection Center. To learn more, check out the program's details on the city's website.
W Airport, light rain, 85, south at 15.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the August meeting of the Board of Adjustment for Residential Issues. This board is a citizens board appointed by the City Council. By state law, a minimum of 7 board members or alternate members must be present to provide a quorum in order to conduct business. Today, we do have one sub from the Commercial Board substituting for an absent member, Ms. Shuby Smith. Thank you. They are well qualified to serve, and we appreciate their service. Our meetings are conducted in conformance with state law as well as city ordinances. This board has 3 broad powers. The board grants variances to the development specifications required in the zoning ordinance. We also grant special exception uses when certain standards are met. The board's third power is to resolve differences of interpretations of regulations between property owners and city officials. The decisions of the board are final and are subject to appeal only to a court of appropriate jurisdiction, not to the City Council. Appeals to the court must be made within 10 days. The phone number for the Justice Center is 817-884-1574. In order to facilitate an orderly meeting, the following procedures have been established. Cases will be called by their number on the agenda, and staff will summarize the cases based upon the request. Next, I will ask the persons in favor of the application to come forward to the lectern to present their request and the reasons they believe the board should approve their request. A total of 7 minutes is allowed for everyone speaking. So if there is more than one speaker, they should get together before the being called and decide how many minutes will be allowed each speaker. Then I will ask those opposed to the application to come forward and make their presentation. They will also be allowed 7 minutes. Then I will allow 3 minutes for the applicant to address any issues presented by the opposition. After everyone has spoken, I will ask the board if they have questions of the speakers. After the question period, I will close the hearing and the board will be asked for a motion and discussion of the issue. Then I'll call for a vote on the motion. All of the items submitted will be kept as a part of the official record, and they will be subject to the open records law. Please turn off the audible alarms on your electronic devices so we will not be distracted during the meeting, and if you're wearing a hat, please remove it. If you wish to speak, you should fill out a registration of interest form and hand it in to one of the staff members here at the front desk. If you want to give your opinion but do not want to speak, you may write your opinion on the form. The forms are available on the lectern and outside the chamber on the table in the foyer. The first order of the business is the approval of the minutes for the July meeting. I'm open for a motion. Got a motion on the floor for approval in a second. All those in favor, please vote. We have some technical difficulties with 2 of our screens.
I was about to say, we can do it the old-fashioned way. This is Tyler Wallach, Assistant City Attorney. We can do it the old-fashioned way by just raising hands for all those in favor.
Great. Yeah. All right. At this time, we're going to move on to our non-translation cases since our translator is late. Do we have somebody checking on where the translator is? Okay. Let me give this to you for next time if I'm not going to be here so you can read it. But we do have someone checking on that. Okay. Well, while they're checking on that, let's go ahead and move to call our first case.